Good afternoon, everyone. February 3rd, 2022. Time for episode 19 of The Last Admiral. We're going to take up on page 149 where we left off with the second mate, Jill Saxon. Okay. Aye, Sergeant, Jill answered. Stay alert, Acklon told her secretly as they walked together across the deck. I don't expect trouble, but we should be able to learn something from this meeting. Ever aware of the workings of the ship, they corrected potential dangers when they encountered them and lent a hand where needed. Whale pod off the port bow, 200 yards, sir, Han reported. And it's a big one. Steady the course, helmsman, Carradine directed. Let me know if they close the gap, midshipman. Aye, skipper, Sang Han replied. His boredom had ended. Living for these moments, he kept a wary eye for danger, enjoying a view that his mates below could not experience. The whales were massive and playful. He believed them to be right whales of the baleen kind, and although they swam nearby, something greater than animals' intelligence seemed to keep them at a safe distance. Jade Harbor was fast approaching, and there he could just see the waves breaking on the treacherous reefs to the west. The shoals are in sight, skipper. Steady, Red, Carradine said. Half sails through the channel, Lieutenant. Half sails, Jill Saxon commanded. Approaching in line, they flew the White Dragon pennant and the 11-starred standard of the 11th Fleet. The gray cliffs of Jade Harbor loomed ahead, their sheer, jagged walls topped by fortresses and high towers equipped with mighty war machines. Various parapets, connected by subterranean tunnels, honeycombed the high cliffs, providing an endless array of vantage points for Dragonian defenders. A single flaming arrow flew from the north cliff's highest tower. Hold the main channel into the harbor, Red. Aye, sir, he replied. Scratching his gray beard, his attention was riveted on the task. His thick, calloused hands steered them well as they sailed smoothly into the great bay that was Jade Harbor. Roughly crescent-shaped, the shoreline was a mass of enormous pilings, wharves, wet and dry docks, supply warehouses, and sailors' pubs. A towering fortress, black-walled and ominous, loomed high above the city. 12 sharp spires, resembling talons, protruded from its walls and corners. The massive slopes of the volcano reinforced its rear battlements, while a series of 4 outer walls supported its flanks, each with its own fortified gate. Beneath and within it all, the city of Haiwa was prosperous, randomly built, heavily populated, and sprawling. Encompassing the entire harbor, its sole purpose was to support the 7th Fleet and the Navy in general. Many ships lay at anchor or docked throughout the bay, the largest of the ships being the massive flagship Príncipe de Asturias, commanded by Admiral Don Federico Gravina. Gravina, born in the city of Calzacath in the northern province of Hispania, was the son of its former King Carlos III. Hispania was a nation of proud mariners forced to submit to the undeniable power of Dragonia's despotic queen. They resented subjugation, but had otherwise profited handsomely from it. Confident and well-disposed, Admiral Gravina was a consummate example of military excellence and a masterful tactician. His influence was responsible for the defeat of Firminor's Western Fleet, and now only the remaining natives of the south, east, and the unknown territories of the newfound world could threaten them at all. Commodore Carradine scanned the decks of the Asturias and soon found their admiral doing the same to them. Gravina's ship was the pinnacle of Dragonian naval design. With 3 mainmasts and 4 decks, it was equipped with countless firing ports supporting ballista and other siege weaponry. With the capacity to carry 500 sailors and cargo with ease, It was the pride of the 7th Fleet. "JW," Carradine said. "Signal the fleet. Dock and resupply without shore leave." "Aye, aye, sir," he replied. Walking the deck, JW relayed the command to the signalman and informed the crew. His uniform was kempt. Wearing his black duty coat collar up to break the wind, his watch cap cocked slightly to the side, he moved about the deck and assisted in the ship's operations. "Red, bring us alongside the Asturias," Carradine ordered. He was at home in command, and he did so with an easy hand. "Miss Saxon, row us to stations and furl sails. Take us in nice and easy." "Yes, sir," she replied. "Row us to stations. Furl the sails. On the double marines." Behind them, the remaining fleet began to head away, moving to positions along the various wharves. "Drummer, sound the quarter stroke." The ship slowed without sails, and the oarsmen drove her forward. Jill guided them well, and their approach was steady and well controlled. "Rowers, ship, port oars." Red steered them well, and soon Terribilis came abreast the Asturias. Deploying boat hooks and grappling irons, they aligned the gangways and extended the boarding plank. "Permission to come aboard, Admiral," Commodore Carradine requested. "Granted," Admiral Gravina replied, standing by the gunwale. His high-collared uniform was impeccable. Highly decorated in numerous campaigns, his jacket was resplendent with gold and silver medals. Square-jawed and high cheekboned, with a prominent nose and expressive eyes, he wore his blond hair mid-length, parted on the side and combed back. His ruffled shirt and throat were clothed in white. He was in the absolute prime of his life. "Good to see you, Captain Carradine." "Good to see you too, Admiral," he replied. "JW, the ship is yours until I return." And the footnotes are various nautical terminologies. Okay. "Aye, sir," JW said, taking command. He did so with a watchful eye. An old combat injury caused him to walk the deck with a slight swagger, but the crew knew that his true skill only shone through upon the back of a horse. The quality of the man was that JW garnered respect without force, and all the crew loved him. "Miss Saxon, Sergeant Luke," Carradine directed. "You're with me." Boarding the Asturias, the officers exchanged hearty salutes and shook hands. "May I introduce you to Lieutenant Jill Saxon, second lieutenant aboard, and Sergeant Luke Brest, my shield bearer." "I am honored to meet you all," Gravina greeted. "Welcome aboard." The sailors of Asturias held the members of the 11th Fleet in high regard, and it showed in the respect that they offered to them. "Good to see you, sir," they would say, or "for the love of the Queen," and the like. "Let us retire to my cabin, Captain," Don Federico urged. "That you have assumed command infers much. My sages have received word that Admiral Acklon has recently taken ill or worse. Follow me. We have much to discuss." Crossing the quarterdeck, the Admiral led them past the ladderway, then the ship's wheel and mizzenmast to his day cabin. His quarters and dining area were very spacious by nautical standards, containing a large round planning table, seats enough for 10 diners, a stout desk, and an ample fold-down bunk. Located 2 floors beneath the poop deck, a series of great windows provided an expansive view of the ocean aft of the ship. Seabirds lounged in the waters nearby, patiently waiting for discarded food pitched overboard from the mess hall and kitchen. "You have had a long voyage, Captain. Let us enjoy breakfast before we tackle the business of the day." Seating his 3 visitors himself, he cleared away a few nautical charts and sent for the chef. "Please prepare us a breakfast for 4, Driscoll," Don Federico said. "Guests' rations." Driscoll Leyva was a massive, barrel-chested lad, light of skin, with hair and eyes as black as night. His mustache was full and well-groomed. His voice was deep and full, as if it came straight from his soul. Most of the crew referred to him as Ace, but the Admiral insisted on using his birth name. "Right away, Admiral," he replied. Gravina joined them at the table and said, "Please, Captain, do tell me of the recent hardships that have brought harm to Admiral Acklon." "It is far more serious than that, I am afraid," Commodore Carradine stated grimly. "Admiral Acklon was assassinated with poison. He was buried at sea." "By the goddess," Don Federico replied, "how did a Firmish assassin get on board his ship?" "The assassin disguised himself as one of the regular crew. Regrettably, he escaped, and we never positively identified him. The first mate knew him and believes that he was of the Dark Elfar race." Admiral Gravina demonstrated absolute control of his emotions. His face revealed nothing more than true concern and regret, but Carradine knew better. "I find it difficult to believe that Admiral Acklon missed a spy aboard his own ship. After many battles alongside him, I came to believe that he was unkillable." Don Federico downed the rest of his tea as a symbol of his own remorse and frustration. Running his fingers through his hair, he composed himself. "I will have word of this sent to High Command at once, and formal letters delivered to the Admiral's family. Acklon was a soldier of honor. Dragonia is vastly diminished by his loss." Carradine nodded. "I was honored to serve him. We all were." "So you have taken command as the senior officer?" "Yes, Admiral," Commodore Carradine asserted. "Ah," Don Federico observed. "Our breakfast has arrived." "Thank you, Driscoll." "It was my pleasure, sir." Ace set the breakfast platters expertly, his ample hands demonstrating a level of dexterity unusual in a man of his build. In no time, he had served tea to each of them, with nary a drop wasted. He provided a platter filled with fresh ripe fruits from the mainland for them, as well as plates piled high with flat cakes, boar sausages, and scrambled eggs. Dawn selected a strange-looking dragon fruit, opened it, and took a bite with enthusiasm. "Delicious!" Raising his teacup, he proposed a toast. "To Admiral Acklon, the sea fox and scourge of the South Sea. May he find peace in eternity." "May he indeed," Sergeant Luke agreed as cups clanged and handles tilted. Resuming their seats, they ate their fill and talked of minor things like the governance of Alulu and the daily affairs of Hiwa City. They had upheld the rules of propriety, but their meeting was not for pleasure, but for business. "The battle for Sicily is in its final stage," Don Federico reported. "My last correspondence indicated that the remaining pockets of Firmish resistance are fighting a war of attrition in the mountains, while their main forces have begun a massive evacuation of the island. Our mission is to transport 10,000 Dragonian Marines and supplies in order to reinforce the 2nd Division and secure the island. When that mission is complete, we will receive further orders about a new, top-secret assignment." "Do you know the nature of this covert assignment?" "Not yet," Don Federico declared, "but I am certain that absolute secrecy is essential if it is to succeed. For now, we must focus on the task at hand." "Of course, Admiral," Carradine agreed. "We must set sail as soon as possible," Don Federico instructed. "If we arrive soon, then we may be able to capture thousands of Firmish soldiers before they can escape to the mainland." "It will take some time," Carradine replied thoughtfully, "but if my crews work through the night, we will be ready to sail at dawn." "Excellent," Gravina affirmed. "I will send word to the garrison commander, and we will begin loading the troops as soon as possible." "We can transport at most 10,000 Marines," Carradine explained, "but that will spell trouble if we should encounter rough seas." "Think nothing of it," Gravina responded. "My sages have informed me that we are well past the season for dangerous storms. We will sail north, past the Straits of Noronga, and arrive in Sicily before the end of the month. Of course, Admiral, Carradine affirmed. Then I must respectfully return to my ship and prepare my crew. I will send a messenger to check your progress at dawn, Gravina stated. For the might of Dragonia and our beloved queen, Carradine replied. Shaking hands, he returned to Terribilis with his crew and quickly dispatched their new orders to every ship under his command. They piloted the vessel to the main wharf, shipped carefully, inspected fresh food and water, and stowed it below decks. Within hours, Dragonian Marines and their equipment were coming aboard in companies. Bunking conditions were close and personal, requiring strong leadership. Standing by the helm with Red, Jill Saxon, J.W., Lord Guy, and Sergeant Luke, Commodore Carradine held an impromptu meeting. I don't like it, Carradine said to his shield-bearer. Did you get anything in there? Sergeant Luke smiled. Don Federico feels cheated by my death. He dreamed of meeting me on the open ocean and battling ship to ship, like gentlemen. An unlikely occurrence between fleets of the same nation, to be sure, Lord Guy replied. Men can dream, Sergeant Luke proclaimed with a chuckle. But seriously, he seems to know nothing of a plot against me. He remains focused on his mission and bears no love for the Queen. Dragonia has made his family rich, but secretly he dreams of independence. I feel that he was hiding something, Carradine pondered, but I can't quite put my finger on it. He may have trained his mind to conceal his true intentions, Sergeant Luke surmised. I have been wrong before. I consulted the Oracle Stone, Lord Guy informed them. The fight for Sicily is far from over. Firmish Rangers still hold the northern mountains, and they have dealt heavy casualties upon us. The red-robed priests of the island often render them aid, tending to the wounded and carrying the dead off of the battlefield. What gods do they pray to? They call themselves the followers of Jova. They are pacifists whose faith is absolute, and they carry no weapons among them. Oh, that is curious, Sergeant Luke noted. Indeed, Lord Guy replied. The defense of Sicily. Prince Ivan stood watch upon the widow's walk of Gala's last remaining building. Wearing leather, chestnut-colored armor, the golden lion symbol of his ancestors decorated his tunic on his chest and on his back. 6'4" tall, broad-shouldered and powerful of limbs, his face was well-formed and balanced, with a strong chin, straight nose, and full cheekbones. His large, square-shaped hands were capable. Blonde gold were his hair and short beard, and his eyes were like aquamarines. Around him, the Sicilian village of Gala lay smoldering and ruined. There, after 30 days of brutal fighting in the mountains, he had finally defeated the last stronghold of Dragonian power on the island. The valiant effort had cost him more than half of his army, and enemy guerrillas still lurked in hidden pockets across the island. Standing beside him was his most trusted adviser, a strong woman, now past middle age, and high priestess of the goddess Ilmatar, child of the four winds. Fit from travel in the long campaign, she carried her armor well, despite a little stiffness of the spine. Her hair was long and gray, and her eyes were brown and bold. She wore the spiral cross of her sect on a long chain about her neck. If they land another force, Prince Ivan observed, before our reinforcements arrive from Drakmar, then we'll never hold the island. I have consulted the bones, she reported. Your fight here is over, my prince. If only Drakmar would send the reinforcements that I requested, then we could hold the island indefinitely. And unfortunately, we're out of time. We'll begin the next episode on page 158. And the part about the Jehovah's Witness is a story related to me by my great-uncle, John Anderson, who was a ranger. He fought in the invasion of southern Sicily, North Africa, and northern Sicily, where he was badly wounded. and carried off the field 24 hours after his injuries by Jehovah's Witness, who believed him to be dead. They wore red robes, walked on the battlefield without fear, and because of their bravery, my great uncle lived to be an older man. All right, thank you for the reading, and have a great day. Good night.